Every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a heart attack. It's one of the most common medical emergencies out there. But what's actually happening inside your body during one? Well, today, we're going to break down the science behind a heart attack, from that silent buildup in your arteries all the way to the life-saving actions that can make all the difference.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at just how big of a problem this is worldwide. Then we're going to put on our detective hats and see exactly what goes wrong inside an artery. After that, we'll get into the warning signs, super important, and what doctors do to race the clock. And finally, we'll talk about the most powerful part, what you can do to protect your own heart.
All right, to really get why this is a conversation for absolutely everyone, we need to zoom out and look at the big picture. And honestly, the numbers are a huge wake-up call. 7 million. Just let that sink in for a second. That's how many people we lose to heart attacks every single year, all around the world. It makes cardiovascular disease the #1 leading cause of death on the planet, hands down. This isn't just a statistic, it's a reality for millions of families everywhere. So what is physically going on to cause such a massive problem? Well, to get a heart attack, we first have to understand the heart's own personal fuel lines, the coronary arteries. At its core, the idea is actually pretty simple. Your heart is a muscle, right? And just like your bicep or your quads, it needs a steady flow of oxygen-rich blood to keep working. A heart attack is, essentially, a plumbing problem. It's a crisis of oxygen starvation.
And here's the chain reaction. It usually starts quietly, building up over years as these fatty deposits, called plaque, start lining the arteries. The real emergency kicks off when one of these plaques breaks open. Your body thinks it's an injury, so it does what it's supposed to do. It forms a blood clot. But here, that clot is the villain. It gets bigger and bigger until it completely blocks the artery. And that's the moment a heart attack starts. The heart muscle is literally being starved of oxygen, and its cells begin to die.
You'll hear doctors use a pretty technical term for this: myocardial infarction. It sounds complicated, but when you break it down, it makes perfect sense. Myo means muscle, cardial means heart, and infarction means tissue death from lack of oxygen. It's a very literal and very serious name for what's happening. Okay, knowing the biology is one thing, but what really saves lives is being able to spot the warning signs when they're happening. In a heart attack, every single second counts. You'll hear doctors say time is muscle, because the faster you act, the more heart muscle you can save.
Now, these are the classic symptoms you probably think of, the ones you see in the movies. And for good reason, they're incredibly common. People often describe the chest pain as this intense pressure, like an elephant is sitting on their chest. And that pain can travel, moving into the left arm, up into the jaw, or into the back or stomach. And it often comes with shortness of breath or feeling sick.
But, and this is so important, the symptoms are not always that dramatic. For women and for older folks, the main signs might just be this overwhelming weakness or fatigue, with hardly any chest pain at all. And for people with diabetes, nerve damage can actually blunt the pain signals from the heart. They can have what's called a silent heart attack, where the signs are so subtle they're easy to miss. Knowing this can literally save a life.
Okay, so a heart attack is suspected, the alarm's been pulled, now what? Well, the clock is ticking and everything shifts to the medical response. The very first step is the most critical. Call emergency services right away. It's the absolute fastest and safest way to get to a hospital. While you're waiting for help, taking an aspirin can help to thin the blood and keep that clot from growing. And if the person has a prescription for nitroglycerin, that can help open up the arteries. Once at the hospital, one of the most common treatments is something called an angioplasty. It's pretty amazing. A cardiologist basically threads a tiny tube with a balloon on the end up to the blockage. They inflate the balloon, which squishes the clot and plaque out of the way and gets the blood flowing again. And a lot of the time, they'll leave a little mesh tube, called a stent, in there to prop the artery open.
Now, for more serious cases, maybe with several blockages, doctors might need to do bypass surgery. You can think of it like building a detour on a highway. Surgeons take a healthy blood vessel from somewhere else in the body, like the leg, and create a brand new path for blood to get around the blockage and to the heart muscle.
These treatments are incredible, right? They're modern miracles. But what's even better than treating a heart attack is stopping one from ever happening. And that leads us to the most empowering part of this whole conversation, taking control. And right here, this is your playbook. It's your guide to heart health. It breaks down into 4 big areas. For diet, it's about cutting back on sugar and bad fats and loading up on veggies, lean protein, and whole grains. For exercise, find something you like and be consistent.
mixing cardio with some strength work. Lifestyle is huge, keeping a healthy weight, quitting smoking, and yes, getting enough sleep. And finally, the medical stuff. Work with your doctor to keep your blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetes in check. It's all connected.
And look, sometimes just seeing simple swaps makes it all feel way more achievable. Instead of red meat, go for chicken or fish. Instead of that sugary afternoon snack, try a handful of almonds. Swap out white bread for whole grains. See, these aren't huge sacrifices. They're just small, smart upgrades that, over time, have a massive impact.
I really like this quote because it sums everything up perfectly. Yeah, heart attacks are common, but they don't have to be your destiny. Your daily choices are incredibly powerful.
So, we'll end on this thought. Your heart beats over 100,000 times a day. It works nonstop for you, every second of your life. The real question is, what are you doing for it? It's a good moment to ask yourself if that incredibly important muscle is getting the care it really deserves.